Welcome back to SwitchCorner. My name is Alex and today we're taking a look at the best first-person shooters money can buy on the Nintendo Switch. This is going to be the best bang for your buck. It took a little while for the genre to embrace the Switch, but it's happened in 2020. It's been a great year for fans. So with that luck, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family and let's get started. Doom Eternal first, then the game that literally took an eternity to get to the console. It finally arrived in 2020 and it did not disappoint. Panic button, they are behind this port and the work just incredible as always. Taking place 6 months after the events of the 2016 Doom entry, Earth has been overrun, the population dwindling, and you must now take down these demon forces by basically killing 3 priests. By Doom standards, it's actually, I gotta say, pretty deep stuff on the story front, but it's all just basically one big excuse for some of the most visceral shooting on any platform, supported then by a solid frame rate that tends to stick for the most part to 30 FPS, gyro controls, some stunning visuals that has seen a downgrade, but it is absolutely respectable, especially in handheld, and then the soundtrack, an absolute beast. It even has a multiplayer mode where 2 players control demons and 1 is the Slayer. Really cool stuff. Metro Redux, it brings together 2033 and Last Light, and like Doom Eternal, this is a port done right. Probably up there as some of my favourite games on the Switch. These experiences, more for those of you that like a deep story alongside your shooting. It's definitely not run and gun though, it's leaning more into stealth, survival horror, and then some seriously impressive locations to explore. In this world though, an apocalyptic event, it occurred. The population of this world, they moved underground to what is the subway system in Moscow, and now basically things have spiraled out of control and you must brave this world full of mutants to, well, yeah, warn everyone of an incoming threat. This is great stuff. It looks stunning, it captures a mood that few games can, and it even then throws in like gyro controls. No multiplayer, but I don't think anyone would expect that given the heavy story focus. Ion Fury sees 3D Realms making a return with a successor to their classics, so think in particular Duke Nukem. Here you'll be taking on the role of Shelley Bombshell Harrison, and you're basically on a quest to take down the evil mastermind that is one Dr. Jadis Heskey in a cyberpunk DC. Built on the same engine as Duke, I grew up on games just like this, so I adored literally every moment from start to finish. It's like seriously fast run and gun gameplay that's then complemented with some serious challenge. It is not easy. There's a ton of levels here though, the weapon selection is awesome, as are the secondary attacks, and then of course you can find some gyro controls. An absolute love letter to the 90s, I loved it, and while yes it runs at 30 FPS locked, you can unlock up to 60 with the Konami code. The only real thing missing here, a lack of multiplayer options. Online competitive shooter fans, restricting myself to just one for today's list, I'm choosing Paladins. And why Paladins? Because it's 60 FPS, something I wish Overwatch offered, and then it's also free to play. Yes, it does indeed have monetization, but it's absolutely fair, and there is like zero pay to win here. This one, it's a team-based hero shooter from Hi-Res Studios, and they just have a great grasp on how to get the most out of the Switch hardware. What separates Paladins though, yes, it has like a great cast of characters, but then you can customize them with a deck-based system to your liking. For on top of all this, a stunning fantasy world and visual style, gyro, which they're okay, but I wouldn't say I use them too much in this one. And yeah, this is 5 versus 5 shooting at its very best, a great one for you to download. It even had a patch added for voice chat support, and then crossplay means it's nearly always busy and I never struggle to find a match. Borderlands Legendary Collection brings together the first game, second and the pre-sequel, along with all of the DLC, and it is a hell of a package. Borderlands is different to most of today's list with a heavy focus on RPG elements and loot. It supports up to 4 players locally and online, and that's gotta be by far the best way to experience it, especially given the fact it also supports voice chat. Visually, that cel-shaded cartoon style, it has definitely held up to this day. The world is fun to explore and filled with some seriously unique personalities, and yeah, this one's just an absolute blast, especially in handheld, where that resolution is just seriously crisp. Throw in gyro controls then, and the fact you can pick up the game separately if you prefer to save a little bit of damage to that bank account. And yeah, this is gonna be a winner from 2K if you want something that's perhaps a little bit deeper in its mechanics alongside the shooting. If you do like your looter shooters then but want some serious challenge, check out Fired Bastards. I was a little hard on this looking back at my review now, and I will tell you why. The frame rate has some issues. It sticks to like 60 for the most part, but then it can drop in those busier moments. Never awful, but it can be frustrating. That all said, after the review I got addicted, and I remain addicted to this day. That's because this is a roguelite. You're on a prison ship and you must get to safety by navigating a star system, attacking ships in the sectors you land in, collecting fuel, food and weapons. The charm of it all has won me over though, with its dark sense of humour, even if the voice acting at points can be a tiny bit grating. But the big thing though, when you die you take on the role of a new character entirely. They'll each have their own unique quirks. Think maybe one will see in black and white, or maybe they scream every time they pick up loot. The weird here just absolutely won me over. Wild West fans, Call of Juarez, Gunslinger. It's a fantastic single player story driven shooter that is kind of disappointing because it lacks multiplayer, only because I see how potentially good it could be. Here though, you're going to find yourself hunting down legendary bounties like Jesse James and Billy the Kid, and it looks absolutely stunning on the Nintendo Switch. You're just going from one massive set piece to the next, and the whole while you're armed with like this seriously powerful armory that's assisted with some great gyro controls. Just really like the pacing with this one, as the story is minimal but it has so many like different little twists and turns. It's a favourite of mine to play in handheld. It's fast, it's frantic, probably the best way to describe this one, and it just captures that West feel with a setting that I gotta say is seriously unique for the genre. Bioshock Collection now had to get a mention, another 2K release. This one, it contains the first game, second and Infinite, and like Borderlands you can pick them up separately if you prefer. This isn't for those of you that want fast paced run and gun though. It pays a heavy focus to its story and then has like bursts of action in between. This one is intense though, and a classic of the genre, and this is also, I gotta say, the port it absolutely deserved. It lacks gyro support sadly, but Bioshock is a classic for a reason, and the story, this unique tale of like worlds underwater and above the clouds, it will absolutely stick with you long after you finish it. Containing then RPG mechanics as well, it just hits so many marks spot on. The shooting solid, the story, world, enemies unique, and then that horror like undertone to it all, it just gets under your skin. It was amazing to revisit this one, especially like many on this list today in handheld. Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour had to be added to today's list, given the incredible port work that it is, and the fact it's seriously budget and it frequently goes on sale for 50% off. This brings back Duke in all his like unapologetic glory and delivers one of the best throwbacks I have had in some serious time. While it's not the full package, it's actually missing some minor DLC, came under a different publisher. It's about as comprehensive as we're probably gonna get, and then they're throwing in a ton of new features as well. This includes like HD rumble, gyro controls, co-op gameplay for up to 8 players, local and online, competitive multiplayer, new weapons, more voice work, and it is as good as ever if you like that Duke Nukem brand of humour. I especially like the new music, the options to jump between new and old visuals, and then the new episode from the original designers. Buy this one immediately, it is as simple as that. So before we do get to the final game, a few quickfire mentions first of all, because there's a ton of shooters on the Switch now. Check out Turok for some good old N64 dinosaur hunting. Bulletstorm if you want, Duke Nukem in a modern day release, because they added him to this game and it's absolutely awesome. You got Hypercharge Unboxed if you want some multiplayer goodness with like a toy focus. The Persistence for you roguelite horror fans. This was a VR game that really did deliver, just dials the horror factor up to 11. Then of course Wolfenstein 2. I decided for the list choose one Bethesda title, but this is a great option as well if you want a futuristic take on taking out like Nazi forces. Project Warlock, and another good one, similar in idea to Iron Fury, that old school formula, just run and gun, but it adds a ton of customization and flexibility in the way you craft your character's skill sets. Finally, I'd say Superhot. It's a first-person shooter with a puzzle element. Your enemies, they only move if you do. It's super unique though, and well worth checking out. It was a VR game originally, but I adore it on my Switch. With that though, look, our final game today then, Crysis Remastered, was probably one of the surprise releases to hit the Switch. I think at the time we all had kind of low expectations, mainly because Crysis is about as demanding as they come. I test nearly every new PC I get by installing this game and hoping the thing doesn't set on fire. And yeah, gotta say they absolutely delivered it on the Switch. The frame rate, it's not locked, it does struggle a minor bit in certain sections, but that's only as much as other consoles honestly, like an early mission 3, tanks around you in these buildings, it's kind of legendary for tanking that frame rate. But yeah, overall, look, the controls are solid. The story as dumb as ever as it escalates from like typical human enemies to alien invaders. But I tell you what, Crysis in the palm of your hands, seriously satisfying, and that's why we love the Switch. This one then, it even has gyro controls. They were okay to begin with, but they were improved after a patch was released allowing for the gyro sensitivity to be adjusted and adding the option for those of you that want to invert them. Crysis is awesome though, it's well worth your time, and it's coming in at a very reasonable price. And that is it. Look, still plenty of shooters I missed today. Think games like Immortal Redneck, another great roguelike take on the old school formula. So let me know down below what your favourite shooters on the Nintendo Switch are, or which ones you want to add to your collection. With that then, like, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. Helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.